Shalom, everybody. How are you today? This great last day of this Feast of Tabernacles. What a marvelous feast it's been. I'm hoping that everybody has had plenty of time to study. Plenty of revelations, hopefully, have come to you. Things that you didn't understand before. Hopefully, our King is giving you a feast from above that you come to see things in a different light. This is the last great day of the Feast of Tabernacles, and I have no idea what's going to come forth this next year, but we need to be careful. We all really do. And let's start this here great day off, this great year off with a little demon chaser here. Time to get the hint, Satan, and all your little minions. Ready? Get thee hence, Satan. And the only way that she'll stay away, of course, is by our performance in the law. What I really wanted to bring out here is just a Proverbs. I want to keep it short, but it's a very important proverb, okay? And it talks about here in Proverbs 18, verse 20, it says, "A man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth, from the produce of his lips he shall be filled." And that, of course, is because of the contracts and such that we make. Whether it's buying a car or a house or telling someone, "Hey, I'll pick you up in the morning, man, and take you to work because your car's broke down." Well, if you don't fulfill your contracts, you fall into jeopardy. You fall into punishments sometimes that are quite just for us. So we have to watch our tongues, we got to watch our mouths. Let's not be rash in decisions. It's once you make a decision, it's already too late to change your mind once the deal has been struck, unless the parties get together and they change it. But there are some contracts you really can't change. It's like even for those that run down the altar and they give their life to Jesus, you can't change, and say, "Well, I'm going to take my life back from Jesus." No, you need to stay on the road that you chose, no matter what. Day to day, you need to repent and change as your life calls for it, as situations call for it, and you see in the scriptures that you may have been walking incorrectly. We need to get the backbone, stand up and say, hey, I made this decision. I said from this mouth that I'm going to go ahead and follow the Jesus, and I did it one time too, but it wasn't like I turned away. I just discovered the true name of our Messiah, and he was leading me the whole time. I've never turned away. I've never taken my hand off the plow like Lot's wife did. And she turned around, It wasn't like she just turned around, to see the, brimstone and the sulfur and such, falling from the sky and burning the place up. That wasn't, why she was turned into a pillar of salt. It was because she had the desire to return to the lifestyle of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's why, it's the same thing it says, when you put your hand to the plow, don't turn back. Just keep your hand on the plow and don't turn back. Don't desire to go back to the lifestyle you had, and when you start seeing that the laws and commandments are to be kept, you especially have to be careful with what, decisions you make, what comes out your mouth. The hair. Okay. So Proverbs 18, verse 21, it says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." And of course that talks about what you plant, you'll also reap. What you sow, you'll reap. Whether it's an acorn, and an acorn is sin that grows up into an oak tree of sin. Well, you still got to, take on the burden of what has been produced from that little acorn of sin that we may have said. we need to be careful, people. We're going to be we are representing our king. We're representing the kingdom that is to come. And if there are those out there that we're cursing, okay, and it says not to let blessings and curses come from, your mouth. Curses are actually death. If you speak curses against somebody, it's the same as an act of murder. You've murdered that person. If you want harm to come on anyone for any reason, there's a reason why, Saddam Hussein and all these individuals were even born, even Hitler. They were born to bring forth certain things in life, but to hate the people, that's wrong. Hate what they do, hate their sins. Pray for them. Pray for those that spitefully use you. If they curse you, thank them. Bless them, the curses can't do anything against you if they're pronounced against you and you're keeping the laws and the commandments. You're protected. All the Satanists in the world can get up there and sacrifice all the children and eat all the dead bodies and everything they want while pronouncing a curse on one of the saints of the Most High. Okay, and through his righteous Son, there's protection. They cannot bring harm on us. It also talks about the blacksmith, that our Father created. He created the blacksmith, and he created the coals. He created the things that the blacksmith is bringing out of the fire, okay? And he's slamming it with his hammer, and he's making these weapons to destroy. But our Father already said out his mouth that these things that are formed against us, they will not be able to prosper. They won't have any effect on us, those that truly believe. Now, yes, there's going to be diseases and such, and there's going to be death of those that do believe. Lots of us are going to die. But, for me, it's no big deal. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. What do I have to look forward to? I wake up in the morning, I do a video, or something, hoping that, there may be 25 people that'll actually watch it. That's the excitement of my day, hoping that, the numbers of the billions of people who do not believe as I do, as I've been led to believe, will understand what I say, and it's really hopeful when, it gets up to 26 or 27 views, because I know that the hearts of men are being talked to and they're being given options. We all need to look at what we're doing with care. We can't just run into things. We need to and if we do, we're going to just have to figure out a way. If you told somebody that you'd take them to work in the morning and you wake up and your car don't start, well, you might consider, calling that person, say, hey, look, my car don't start, but we got to get you to work. Do you know anyone else? I'll call around, I'll find out. And if I have to, I'll call a taxi for you because I said I'd get you to work. But do you know anyone else that might be able to pick you up so you're not late and lose your job or anything? If you volunteer yourself for anything or you put yourself in a position for anything, you've got to stand on your word. Okay, our king, he hates truce breakers, he hates oath breakers and covenant breakers and things of this sort. And sometimes, things are completely out of our hands and out of our control, like those fellas in North Carolina and South Carolina. They had work in the morning. I'm certain there was someone in the state saying, oh, I'll pick you up for work in the morning. And when they got up, man, they didn't have a car or nothing out there because it was all washed away by the water, So some of these things are completely out of our control, but everything that we have even this smallest amount of control over, we have to fulfill it to the best of our ability, to do it as if we're doing it for our king. Everything we put our hands to do. If we cook a meal, know that our king is going to be there. He's going to eat with you. If he's in your heart, he's going to be eating with you, So you want to make sure that you cook the very best. Don't cook slop for the king, put your best into it. Enjoy your meal that you're making. Enjoy the car you're fixing. Enjoy the trees you're cutting down, or whatever it is that you got to do, because you're serving our King when you take care of your holy temple. The bodies that we live in, or those of a bride, or of an infant, or a parent, that you may be taken care of. We have to take care of those holy temples the best we can. Our King takes care of the body. But we, still, even in our bodies here, we put food in our mouth and hope that every cell in us, gets fed. And that's what our King's doing. And the only way we can eat honestly, like it says, a man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth. Okay? And it's the same thing. If we desire to break any laws or commandments after we've already agreed that we would do whatever it takes to acquire salvation, and yet we say things contrary to it, it's like putting your money into a bag with holes in it. There's nothing there to close up the dam. The money's just going to fall out. The same thing when you put food into your mouth and it just seems like it's not satisfying, and you drink and you're still thirsty, and all these things. You put on clothes and you're still cold, or you take clothes off and you're still hot. These are all things that could be signs that we're actually not living up to what comes out our mouth. So if there are vows in the past that you broke and such, do the best you can to reconcile. Don't be running away from these things. If you say you're going to do something, you need to pick up your stake, and follow our King in doing exactly the same. Walk just like he did. He said he will do this and he will do that if you do this and you do that. Our King's not going to change his mind. Our Heavenly Father never has. And, his righteous Son, he never did. He never will. He'll never change his mind in such matters. His word is gold, Our Father said, let there be light, and look around you, Everything around you came forth from, them few words being spoken. And our Father said his word has gone out, and it's not going to come back, until all things are fulfilled. It's not going to lack in anything that he spoke. Every word of the prophets is going to come to truth, okay? You're going to see these things before our King returns. Everything that was spoken of by the prophets up until his return is going to be fulfilled. You're going to see these things. You may not understand them. There's a lot of things that take place that actually fulfill prophecy. And 99% of the time, I'd have to say, in my experience of searching the scriptures for, since I've been able to read, but I wasn't really searching. I was reading it like a storybook up until I asked the priest one time. I said, hey, Father, I'm not even going to say his name. I shouldn't even say father, because he wasn't one, but that's what, you're brought up in the Catholic Church asking. And I says, the Bible says here that we're not supposed to eat swine or pork, and it says that we're going to be destroyed if we do. I says, how come we have, these pork dinners and such? And he said, well, Al, he says, the thing is, in those days, there weren't any refrigerators. And, the meat from the pig would go bad if it wasn't refrigerated. But now we've got refrigerators so we can eat it. And I believe that was the statement that actually caused me to start searching. I just couldn't accept that answer, And I was probably 8 or 9, I guess, when I had asked this. And since then I started searching. I knew nothing about research. I knew nothing about Strong's exhaustive concordances. I didn't know anything about commentaries. I had a Bible that I hid under my mattress because, being a Catholic, if you have any questions, at least the diocese, whatever, in the area I was here in upstate New York, you weren't supposed to read the Bible, but if you had any questions, you were to ask the priest, and they would they tell you. And there's actually a commandment that says to do that, but it's not talking about these priests of Baal or of the gods. You're supposed to ask it out of the mouths of righteous men, the prophets, the priests of the temple and such that were receiving tithes so that they could put their full time into the studies of the words. And basically that's what I did, and that's what I'm saying. We've got to watch what comes out our mouth, people, especially in these days coming up. A lot of people just going to accept this mark of the beast, what's going to come on them. And that's just something that's going to come from their mouth. So every decision that we make, let's think about these things first. Put it to prayer. Ask our King, do you want me to do this or do you not want me to do it? If you don't want me to do this, maybe I could still help him a little bit, but, let me know. Because whatever you speak, you're going to have to do. And I said I would bring a video every day of this feast, and I have done that. And there were times I really didn't want to, but I did. And it's because I said I would. And I hope that these words are encouraging to you. We all, I'm sure if you're listening to this video, you've dedicated your life for the truth, to seek the truth. I'd like to help you if I can, and I know that, like I say, there's billions of people on this planet who disagree with what I have to say, but when they look in the scriptures, they know that there's no refuting these words, because I'm only trying to speak of salvation and issues pertaining to it. Contracts is very, very important. This book is a trust. It's a living trust. Our King is living, and in order for you to be part of a trust, you have to act in certain ways of a trust. It's a contract. It's all contractual. If you do this, I will give you this or that. If you do that, then I will do this or that against you. But if you do this or that, I'll do this and that for you. It's all contractual. Please pick up this book and just start reading from the very first page and read it like Harry Potter. Believe it like you do Harry Potter. And if you read the entire scriptures like a novel, things will start falling in place and you'll get a whole different understanding than just looking at the New Testament thinking that the old was done away with, when our King, he didn't even have a New Testament. There wasn't any King James Version. All they had was the scrolls and such that they had in the synagogues, and they went and they would read words of the law, and then they would read Acts of the prophets, and then afterwards the men would stand around and they would discuss these things. That's how it was done. There was no New Testament. The New Testament simply shows how to keep all the laws and the commandments and the words of the prophets in your life as our King did. And he said to walk exactly as he walked, and he never sinned. He never broke a law. That's what sin is breaking a law or a commandment. That's what sin is. Our King never did it, and he told you there in 1 Yahnai chapter 2, verses, you can go from 1 through 6, and he'll tell you, if you don't keep the commandments, you don't even know him. He says you're a liar, and there's no light in you. The prophets have spoken the same thing. He says if they don't speak according to the laws or the testimony, the prophets, then there's no light in them. And that's all I speak of. So if you want something else, I don't know what I can do. Now, there are some things I talk about, world events and such, but it all still boils down to this truth and walking in the truth, walking in the light. So, people, I love you. We need to love one another, hate the things that we do that are wrong, and encourage one another. Let's not jump on each other's back and slam each other's head against the floor, when you sin. Remember, we all came out of Egypt ourselves, and we have to act accordingly. We have to have if you came out of it, if you came out of Egypt, you got to have the wisdom to know how you did and understand that at one time you were just as deceived as everybody else. And just because you got a little bit of knowledge now or a little understanding, it's certainly not going to put you above people. Because of that knowledge and understanding, it should actually put you below them. you should be wanting to be their servant so you could be the greatest there is for them and an example on how to make the kingdom. We can do this together, you know, we're all in the same boat. I just hope that we pick up the oars and we start going in the right direction here. Once again, you know, it states death and life here in Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Okay, and love, of course, we just did a quick video on. It means, you know, the keeping of the commandments. That's what love is. So if you love it, you know, you'll eat of the fruit of righteousness, and you'll be in the kingdom. Please read Revelations 22:14 and 15. It's the very last chapter in your Holy Scriptures, and there's a promise in there. And it tells you right straight out that you'll be blessed if you keep the commandments. And I'm going to be praying for you. I have today already. I will be praying more. It's the last great day. I want to get this video out soon here and hope that we may all rejoice. Remember, let's cry out for judgment. Yahshua, please bring judgment. Oh, man. You know, it looks like they may be going to do this. Enoch told us to cry out for judgment. And this is the last great day. Everybody, please just cry out that judgment come. When judgment comes, I'll tell you what, our king won't be too awful far behind it. So let's pray for this judgment. I love you all. You know, it's been a great feast. And to all of you I say, Shabbat Shalom.